Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our April 13th meeting of the Building Committee. Our first order of business is, as usual, to approve the minutes of the meeting that was held on March 9th. Are there any corrections or changes to that, to the minutes that's presented? Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve these minutes? Diane's making the motion. Do I have a second? From Dan. Wow, George, something's going on back there. All in favor? I would say that we can do it by the negative side. I wonder if that's possible. That is to say, if anybody objects or anybody says nay, please indicate. Are there any abstentions? By process of elimination, I'll take it was unanimously accepted. Thank you. Next item of business is the pay application number 15 in the amount of $2,089,845.80. I'll turn it over to George and David.
Okay, as Skip said, we're billing, $2,089,000, like 846. For the most part, Capasso, masonry, that's actually, the winter protection, during the winter, the 49,000. Architectural woodwork, that's all the casework, the cabinets, which, the majority is on site and being installed, pretty much complete on the lower level, and then, working on the main level. General trades, the majority of that is the elevator. Coney's come in and, set the elevator. Roofing, we have the coping, the metal coping. They were doing this the month of March. Fire stopping, that's just, the penetrations in the slabs and the walls. Fire stopping those. Aluminum curtain walls, that's all the the windows and curtain walls. Gypsum board, installing gypsum board and taping. Acoustical ceilings we've been putting up. Flooring, Higgins has started the flooring, both ceramic tile in the bathrooms and then the vinyl tile in the classrooms. Painting, continuing with the painting. Fire protection, it's just, sprinkler heads, putting in the grids. Plumbing, we've started setting plumbing fixtures in the bathrooms, completing the fin tube radiation. Then Ferguson Mechanical, it's mostly registers, diffusers, and grills in the ceilings. And then, electrical, obviously fire alarm, power, lights. Say the majority is light fixtures going into the ceilings. Communications, that's all the data and the telephone, the wiring for that, working in the MDF rooms. And then Sean's lawn, most is, the courtyard work, putting in the drainage, stone. They've finished the steps and placing sidewalks. So by the end of this week, Sean's lawn should be complete in the courtyard. And then the total is the 2,145,000, and then with retainage or whatever, we're just we're billing the 2,089,000. I don't know if there's any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, I will move that we approve pay application number 15 as presented to the committee today in the amount of $2,089,845.80. May I have a second, please? Duke, thank you. Again, I'm going to do this in a negative way. If there's anybody who objects to approving this motion, please indicate your nay vote now. Is there anybody who abstains? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Progress report.
Okay. we have Scott here. Scott was asked to go through some of the scheduling and items we're doing since we're, a couple months from the substantial completion. So I'll just go through, the summary data before, and then I'll give it over to Scott to talk about, like scheduling and all that. Um, as far as academic wing substantial completion, we kind of went through an exercise of revising um, the substantial completion date. We were, on target like 515. There was some issues with the metal siding or whatever. We went through and kind of um, revised it. So we're having a substantial completion date of 6/9. However, um, if you go to to our schedule, we're also showing a TCO date. We're talking June 1st. So kind of the difference between TCO and our substantial completion. TCO will be the date where, it'll be available for, furniture to move in, and teachers or, public, I guess, if you will, um, to be able to go into the building, with the idea that, after furniture delivery or setup, teachers would be available after, could if they wanted, go June 1st to go in, and, if they have to set up or just go classrooms or something like that. So what we're projecting right now is the TCO date of June 1st, and then substantial completion, we're talking June 9th, and it's basically just, after our TCO, then we'll be, completing and doing punch list items to reach our substantial completion date. So that's the big difference in the in the summary on the monthly report. On changing that substantial completion date. Also, there was a mistake in the Rusty brought to my attention yesterday. The last report I showed 76% complete. That was actually 79. I carried over the February or the January completion, which it should have been February. So last month we're in February 79% complete. In March we're talking about 84% complete. Change orders.
George, could I interrupt for a second?
Yep.
The academic wing substantial completion date, the original, as I understand, the original column is supposed to be what happened at the very beginning was actually April 14th. Was it not?
Yes, that's correct. And then yeah.
But it
Correct.
shifted by virtue of the roofing delay to
Right.
May 14th, and now we got June 9th. I just want to make sure everyone follows that, because the original should be April 14th, 22. Okay, but sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. And then, the finances, we have some potential budget. Owner's costs 184,460, approved revisions, with the projected GMP of the 51,310,000. These are the trades. So we're still carrying a pretty healthy contingency at this point, about 1,008,000. And then, with the balance of the allowances, we're looking at the total funds available, the 1,098,000. And then with that, I'll bring it to Scott. He could go through through the schedule.
George,
Morning,
I'd like to introduce Scott to the group, because not everybody's heard from Scott. At every one of the OAC meetings we have, which are twice a month, Scott basically provides all of the project updates. So I thought it'd be interesting to get his comments on this, because he's closest to the all of the various things that are going on down there. Scott, take it away.
Before we go there, just I missed what's the reason for the delay in the substantial completion date? I know it's only a couple weeks. I just want to make sure I understand why it was pushed back.
I think it's The major is the metal siding. The manufacturer was having issues. Originally, we were going to have it um, delivered, the end of March, and then obviously install April. So actually, that was delayed with actually it was their painting vendor. They were having the painting vendor got backlogged with just availability of the paint. So now in the major part of the front lobby, there's some metal siding in the front lobby that needed to be completed to get a TCO to do that work. So that got delayed about a month or so. Um, it's actually not scheduled. Well, it's scheduled to be here the 26th of this month. That metal siding in that lobby area, and then installed. Just right after that. So that was the major part of that delay on the TCO.
Thank you.
Yep. And it all just comes down to availability of materials, and we've always knew the paint. With our painter, we've been kind of working with Slam and that on paint, and then I guess the metal siding manufacturer, they use basically one vendor to paint, and they got all backlogged with their availability of the paint. Next. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. This is Scott. So I think I'll do like I sort of do at the normal job meetings that we have twice a month, and just go over the work that's being done and where we're headed over the next couple, 2, 3 weeks. So if I go and start on the outside of the building, the site work. If we go to the courtyard first, and some of this is a repetition of what George had said, but Sean's Lawns, who's the site contractor, is finishing up his sidewalks in the courtyard today. And so he should be pretty well out of the courtyard as of this afternoon. That will include, obviously, the stairs, the sidewalks, the decorative stone that's down there. In the courtyard, the curtain walls are up, glazed. Obviously, the snap covers are on. We do have to get back in there, as George had said, to do the metal siding, but we'll do that off a smaller lift or some other type of staging, so that we're not having to get anything big back in there. On the west side of the building, Sean's is starting in the back corner that goes in between D and C at that entrance, and we're roughing in for our access road that goes along the back side of the building, the west side of the building, and we'll be continuing heading towards the south and working along that south property line, as well as while we're working along there, we'll be putting in our site lighting poles and doing the the conduit for that, as well as we're working around, as well as rough shaping the bank, that the slope on the sides of the access road. So we'll be working our way towards south, towards the east, and working towards where the trailers and storage boxes are right now. By the end of this month, the intent is to have those storage boxes out of there so that Sean's can continue with his grading along there, prepping for where the playground goes, as well as we have that retaining wall that has to be finished, that's on the corner of the south end of the building right there. And he'll be working towards the front or the north of the building, and we'll be doing our sidewalks and grading as we work our way out, working again towards the front of the building. And we'll do that piece last, actually, along the north side of the building as far as the site work goes. Again, generally on the building itself, Exterior wise, everything is pretty well set as far as the electrician is moving, is doing their exterior site lighting that gets mounted to the building. So that's moving along. And again, the flow is working on the west side, south side, then east, and working towards the north side of the building. So that's sort of where we're at on the exterior side, exterior of the building. On the lower level of the building, as George had said, the biggest thing that we're doing now that we're done in the courtyard and done driving through your building to get in and out of there, the glazing contractor is working on the curtain wall, the doors, and finishing off the curtain wall that goes into the courtyard from the lower level. And then starting next week, he'll be working on the curtain wall that's on the west side of the building. Again, that we've been coming through. We held off on putting that in because it was the only access in and out of the building. So he'll be working on that next week, and that will allow us to finish those couple small rooms that tie into the curtain wall on the lower level. On the lower level as well, mechanically wise, everything in the sprinkler room, the boiler room, the electric room, and the water meter room is pretty well set. There's some minor insulation that has to happen on some of the equipment, but other than that, everything is hooked in, tied in, so we should be in good shape mechanically in those rooms. If we head towards if we walk out of that room and head towards past stair number 1, I've held off on pouring that stair strictly because there's some nosings that get set into the concrete, and I'm holding off just because I don't want those damaged. But we will pour that at the appropriate time on the lower level. The ceiling is installed there, and the electrician over the next couple days will be putting the lights in to that ceiling, and the elevator is operational, though not inspected by the state as of yet. There's a couple other things that we need to in order to schedule that inspection. So if we head into the building, down the hallway from there, and we're in what we'll call the C part of the lower level, the rooms are pretty well set. They're primed, 1 coat of paint, ceilings are installed, lights are in, HVAC grills, diffusers are in, cabinets, countertops, sinks are installed and operational. The sinks can be operational. We have the water shut off to them, but they can be operational. And the flooring is done and covered in those rooms. The plan is that next week, the painter will have someone go back in and start his final coat of paint on there. The doors for the lower level will be coming next week. We'll be starting to install those along with the glass that goes in the frames in each room at the interior. Will be here sometime towards the end of next week, so we'll start putting that in as well. So C, B are pretty much in the same condition. B is a little less with the flooring because the flooring contractor is working that way. In the bathrooms, the tile is done, ceilings are in, fixtures are starting to be put in the bathrooms. We have the toilet partitions. We have the bathroom accessories that go in there. So over the next couple weeks, again, we'll be starting installing those. So before I move on from the lower level, is there any questions on the lower level where we're at? So if not, if I move to the upper level, or main level, I should say, and start in C.
Hey, Scott, sorry, this is Dave. Just quick. Hey, George, you know how you have the some photos in the report?
Yeah.
I don't know if it'd be helpful. I mean, as Scott's talking, I don't know if you have a couple of images of the main floor, so as Scott's talking, that those on the call can get a kind of a visual perspective of the update Scott's given.
Right. Yep. I can put
Okay.
those up. And just remember in the report, I believe these photos were taken around the 18th or 20th of March. So, a lot's changed. That was a little. Okay.
So if I go up to main level, and if I start in C, because that's sort of where we're headed, again, starting at the elevator lobby and heading into C, the classrooms in C, um, the obviously the any cabinetry is installed, the countertops are installed, the sinks are installed, the ceilings are framed, the ceilings have the lights, the ceilings have the diffusers and grills installed. The building inspector is supposed to be on site today to take a look at above ceiling inspection, so hopefully that goes well. I don't see any reason it shouldn't. So the ceiling contractor has a guy that's doing the ceiling tiles down below, and the plan is that he should be finishing up down below, hopefully today or tomorrow morning, the latest, and then he would come right upstairs and start his tiles in C. And then if we go to B, following, going south towards B, um, again, those bathrooms are to the point where the tile contractor will be here starting next week and start on the floor tile. And this is in the large bathrooms. In the small half baths in the classrooms, the tile floors are done, the walls are done, and the plumber has mounted his fixtures in there. So when the tile contractor comes back on Monday, he'll be working in the larger bathrooms in B, and then the plumber will follow him. In B classrooms, again, all the cabinetry is done, sinks are installed, tops are in, obviously. Um, and I forgot to mention on the lower level, the locker walls in that go in the middle of the corridors are installed. And the lockers should be here. I think it's Tuesday next week, and he'll be starting to install the lockers on the lower floor. But back to the main floor in B, again, all the ceilings in the classrooms of B are framed. The lights are in. Duct drops are done. There's a little more low voltage work to do there. So the plan is that next Tuesday, the building inspector will be back and start his above ceiling inspections in B, and then the ceiling tile contractor should be able to come right from C and work his way into B. And then the flooring contractor will follow suit. He's going to have a few more guys here next week. He'll finish up the lower level, working into the corridors, and then he'll come up to the main level and start in C and start the same process following our way around. Um, so if we continue around B, heading now north, if we're at the sort of southeast corner and we start heading north, where your temporary gymnasium will go, we're going to be working, that's pretty well framed. We're going to be working, there's not a lot more that has to be done in there. The rooms on the other side of the hallway are taped, sheetrock, primed, one coat of paint, and the ceilings are in. The electrician has got his lights in there. The HVAC contractor over the next couple days will be doing his duct drops in those rooms. And then if we head to where the temporary cafeteria will be, those walls are sheetrocked and taped, as well as the two rooms that will be future, but we're using them as the temporary servery. Those are, again, are sheetrock taped, and hopefully will be finished taped and sanded by tomorrow afternoon, so we can paint and start putting the ceilings in there. And then if we move past that to where the temporary media center is going to be, those rooms are taped, sheetrock tape, painted. Ceilings are in there. The electrician is working on his lights in there, as well as the uh, lights on the other side of the hallway in those classrooms. So I'm just picturing how I'm walking down this building. And then if we go to where the nurses' suite area is, those rooms are sheetrock tape painted. Ceilings should be done sometime today, and the electrician will start putting his lights in there along those ELP offices that go along the north side of the building. Those rooms are sheetrock, tape, painted, ceilings are in, and the lights are in those as well. So then we're gonna skip over the center section or the main entrance of the building for a minute and just go to the admin area. Those rooms again are sheetrock, tape, ceilings are in, lights are in that workroom area that's there. The cabinets, mill workers in, counters are in over there. If we go towards the main area where the security office is and such, the glazing contractor has finished the exterior curtain wall as far as the framing goes. By the end of tomorrow or maybe Friday, he will have the rest of it glazed. So then we can take down that temporary protection that we have on the inside. We're framing the soffits that the storefront throughout that main entrance. We're framing those. Those are we're starting to sheetrock those actually, and then we have the interior curtain wall that goes, once you walk in, you have a large vestibule area there, and we have an interior curtain wall, and that will be starting, hopefully, I'm going to say sometime mid next week, that we should be starting that main curtain wall, the interior one. And once that's in, we're going to start the framing of the ceiling that the metal ceiling goes to in that main lobby area. So everybody's been sort of working towards this main area, and that's where we are right now. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Seems fairly thorough. Thank you, Scott.
All right, thank you, guys.
Okay, and then
George, you're not sharing your screen, FYI.
what's that?
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, I'm not.
No.
I saw a Scott cost and schedule impact items.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
But we can't see it now.
there it is.
Thank you.
Oh, all right. Okay, then with the cost and schedule impacts, the ASIs, there was none issued this period. Three RFIs were issued this period. None really had any cost impact. And then two PRs, 35, which is basically some site signage, the wayfinding signage, and that also included some fencing and such around the the propane tank of the PR. And then we'll talk about I guess the PR 36 for landscape revisions later. PCOs that were in for approval. We had a temporary gym rubber tile, basically, accepted by the the subcommittee. They were all within the threshold. Cable redirecting of security system. I think we talked last month about the teledata redirecting because the MDF room for like that administration area is actually in part D. So, obviously we needed to redirect some of the cable into the MDF room in part C. So that was just actually for the security system. Last time was for the teledata. There was, I guess, with the furniture layout, just adding a couple dual duplex outlets in the speech therapy rooms. Masonry winter protection. We mentioned pay app, delivering joists and metal decking. That's to do with the phasing where we have the joists and metal decking because of site constraints had to go to the Connected's yard, and then they're bringing them on site when we're needing them, and then a transition counter, which is mostly a scope gap. It was something that was just not assigned to a trade contractor, but it's it's a counter in the the security office in the main lobby. It's like um, a pass through tray, and I just never assigned it to anybody, so it's a change order on that. And then current PCOs we're just reviewing right now. Some elevations, communication conduit, and actually the ad in the VRF kiln room that has since been kind of put off to the side. That was just adding some air conditioning in the kiln room, which may or may not be needed. So we kind of put that on hold until we actually get the kiln in and see what happens. Um, Overflow drain pipe in the gymnasium. This is actually the gymnasium, so that's in review. And the modified HVAC system. This is another phasing issue. Actually, the rooftop unit servicing the admin area for like fresh air and such is actually part of D. So this is like a temporary, um, putting in a temporary unit to provide fresh air in the admin area. And actually, we're going to do that work, time and material. As far as schedule, we did put together a recovery schedule because of metal panel manufacturer being delayed. Um, the big the big difference, if you noticed, looking at the schedule in the report, I did break it down: classrooms, common corridors, and bathrooms, and I kind of broke those areas down um, just to get you know you can see where we had, and then I also broke out the furniture delivery, kind of you know concentrating in the classrooms and such in the common corridors where we have the things. So that's the major difference, is just breaking those areas down into separate areas. Um, and then also some commissioning startup activities. I resequenced some of those and moved up the completion dates to minimize the impact, of some of the delays. So we should be starting. Well, we have started some of the domestic water pumps. We've next week we're looking to start up some VRFs, the air conditioning units in the classrooms, and then also probably in another week, start up the boilers. And once we get the boilers and the hot water kind of circulating, then we'll go and move and start up the rooftop units. And then also I put together, some outstanding, items that we're currently tracking on procurement issues. We talked about the metal siding. Like I said, materials kind of still been a challenge. The marker board, that's been delayed to like June 15th. Not really impacting the TCO. Um, Apparently the factory got sold and kind of the delays because of that. But we've had put in the brackets so that once we get the marker boards, we'll just throw those into the classrooms. EA operators, that was kind of a miss on my OMG and SLAM's part. So these are the automatic operators for the handicap push buttons. So right now we're kind of looking for an off-the-shelf operator and working with the hardware vendor to see what we can do with that. And then stainless steel handrails and guardrails. Quarter is very tight schedule, but obviously if we run into some issues with that, then we'll just provide temporary ones for the TCO. And then that's about it with the report. If you have any questions or anything.
George, my only question would be about the HVA system in Part A. That's
Yep.
required because of a change in I don't know, a rule or whatever requirement.
No, it wasn't actually a change. I mean, I think they're always required to have 100% outside air. The only thing, not picking it up like Recon, or even if you did, you probably have to do it anyways. But the unit that's supplying the outside air for Part A is actually on the gym roof. So, it was a sequencing thing. So what we're doing is we're bringing in like a a temporary unit, that we're going to hang above the ceiling, a fan, and we're going to put in a louver and then some ductwork and things. And that way we're going to, have just a temporary unit that's going to pull in the fresh air, which is actually a code requirement, pull in the fresh air to the admin area. So that's what
Okay.
that's about. It's like
Thank you.
phasing issue.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Thank you. Let's move into our next topic, which is a recommendation on the technology bids, as well as hopefully getting this stuff installed in time. So is Mark D'Agostino on board as well? I don't see him. But Amy, you've got the floor.
Thanks. And I'm not sure, was I supposed to send him a meeting link?
No, I sent him one.
You did. Okay. Okay. So I think for me, you'd like me to discuss the PCO 46. And if someone could let me share screen, I just sent a request for that.
Are you going to talk about the technology first, which is our next item of business?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we would wait. Okay.
Well, I don't know.
So I was going to let Mark talk about the timing
Okay.
because
Well,
he hasn't, I haven't heard back from him after he spoke with the vendors. But I will tell you that, we were very successful in the bids. We came in under budget by over $20,000. So that's really wonderful news, especially in this bidding climate. And so we're looking forward to finalizing all of those contracts. Mark sent me a few, which I'll get back to the city and then have the PCOs done. And he has a few more to review. Timing of the equipment devices, I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm sorry. And I can shoot him an email and ask him to join.
Because if I remember from the conversation last month, or maybe it was one of the OAC meetings, that the network switches was the really critical thing to have as soon as possible, so that we can make certain that many of the building control systems could be working as soon as possible. And there was
Correct.
also
Continuation of the other meeting, or
I shall announce this is the continuation of the previous meeting, which was cut off due to internet failure. We are now continuing our meeting of April 13th. Okay, so Amy, you had the microphone.
You did, thank you. So I've
Amy,
also,
do you need me to make you a presenter?
I do for the next agenda item, Dave, yes. Thanks. And I'm not sure if everyone heard how far we got, but the bid for the technology equipment did come in very favorably, under budget, and I forwarded Dave's new meeting link to Mark D'Agostino, and so hopefully he'll be able to join us shortly. And he can talk more about the schedule. I know that he and maybe Mike Lynch can weigh in on this. I know that they've been in conversation that if we needed to, Jeff Adams and Mark D'Agostino would work together to move existing network switches to the new building if, in fact, the new network switches are not here in time. So,
Amy, just one piece on that, as Jeff Adams.
hi,
Just
Jeff.
one piece on that. We don't have enough switches to cover the new building. We're going from 4 switches to however many are specified as the safety and machines. That's not an option here.
So I don't know you know, I guess I can't speak to how many you need for this first phase to open. Is what you were just quoting the total needed for the entire building, Jeff?
Yes, I'd have to pull up the bid, but there are at least 13 or 14 switches specified to light the building.
Mm-hmm.
We have 4 in the old building right now. So.
Okay, so on the positive side, it sounds like a big technology upgrade, but on the negative, we'll need to coordinate and hopefully get all of the new switches in time. And I know that's the official goal. And I think that there just needs to be a contingency plan in place, and I can't speak to it without Mark. Sorry. So I can move on to the next agenda item, Kip, and hopefully.
Just one thing on that, because there has been an issue raised about whether, I've read the recommendation from D'Agostino, whether the whiteboards only coming from CBS could be purchased with a savings, overall savings of $95,000 above and beyond what's presently shown. I don't know if that's going to be possible. Mark seemed to indicate that the bid proposal by them was incomplete and has been rejected, that the proposal did not include any audio speakers, teacher and student microphones, or peripheral components. My point here is that the actual bid document did not disallow partial bids. And clearly CBS was just talking about putting whiteboards only, which has been apparently a vendor to the district for some time. And I think what Jeff, you said, it's their preferred vendor in the sense that they've always performed well. And they would not be interfering with the installations that the winning bidder, which right now is ISS, would be doing, because all they would have to do is hang the whiteboards. I don't know if all this is true, but it seems to me if there's an opportunity to save another $95,000, we ought to seriously consider it. Most
right.
importantly, okay.
So we just have to be very careful, because we also have a very strict time constraint here.
Understood.
The original bids requested both the monitor and other components in one bid scope. And
Right.
the other bidder, the low bidder recommended by D'Agostino. Oh, hi, Mark. You're on mute. But if you can describe, please, the bid scope that we were asking for, and then what was received from CBS versus what was received from the recommended low bidder on our end.
Sure.
We just want to make sure we don't nullify the original bids, Kip, because we don't have time to send this back out to rebid.
I understand that.
Go ahead, Mark.
It's not me making that, but so CBS is offering just the displays. They're not offering any of the sound systems or the connection from the displays to the sound systems and the controllers. They did not submit a bid on. So, I mean, the legalities of it, I'm under the impression that if they submitted an incomplete bid, that they need to be disqualified.
I don't think that's true.
No, Rusty?
I read through the bid, and what it says is partial bids for individual categories are subject to rejection. That does not mean they're automatically rejected.
Okay.
I think in the need for speed and we're reducing this down to an agreement, I would prefer that if you, Mark, and Amy and Jeff Adams talk this over and came back to us with what the final decision is on this, because potential savings of $95,000 additional would be a big thing. stopping the bidding process? No. The state has already killed us by holding this up for months and months and months, because I believe this was first put together back in December. We didn't get the
That's
okay.
right. You had it approved at the very beginning of January. You were correct.
Yes, but they didn't give the okay on this bid to go out and do it until March.
Correct.
So I mean, they're killing us, and we've got to move forward on this quickly. And I would prefer the experts talk about this and get this resolved, so that the committee doesn't have to get into a discussion that we don't know what the right answer is here. Does anybody on the committee feel differently than I do? Then let's move forward with that if we can.
Let me just, Mark, can I ask you a question? It struck me, of the 4 bidders, 2 of the bidders just bid on one area. So that left 2 that did more comprehensive bidding. Is there a supply problem out there? Why, it just seemed to me there wasn't a lot of bidding on this.
I agree with that. I don't know why we didn't get coverage. I know we had one installer that was going to bid, and on the bid due date, he sent me an email saying he decided not to bid on it. He didn't feel comfortable configuring the devices. So I don't know why. I don't know why we didn't get great coverage, but we did get, and I can tell you this, the 2 bids that went out in other districts before this one, we had too many no bids. People said they were going to bid on it and then didn't. So I don't know what the issues are.
Wow.
We had to go out twice for one of the previous schools we just did. I think it was it doesn't matter. I think it was New London High School. We went out twice for bids, and in both times we had no bids come back for certain items.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
What if it's supply chain problems? It just mystified me. That's all.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting contractors that say they will bid, and then they don't bid.
Okay. Thank you.
well, let's have you guys. That means you, Amy, Mark, and Jeff, talk this over and tell us what the final resolution is. What the main priority is. We've got to move quickly. Okay.
Understood. We agree.
Okay. So let's go on to our next topic then, which is the landscaping changes, which is a PCO. Is it PCO 46?
Oh, shoot, I shared the wrong one.
I think it's PCO 49, but PR proposal request 36.
Why do I have down? I thought it was PCO 46. Did I make a mistake on this one?
Let me just check.
So you're going to get control of the screen, Amy?
I think I just requested to share my monitor. I take it you can't see it yet.
We see your desk. Now we see it, Amy.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so just a description from our end. Jeff was able to highlight for me the pieces of this PCO and an explanation that he also sent to Nick as to what the components of this were. The area that is on the left side of the screen, highlighted in pink, is a change because previously it was called out to be lawn, regular grass. And it was revised to a low maintenance meadow mix. And that way it would eliminate the need to regularly mow that area. It's a steep, it's on a slope. It's at the edge of the wooded area property. And so we think that having a meadow mix there will be a lot easier for the school in the long run. There's no cost on this, but there's also not a credit, but we wouldn't expect there to be one. But that was one of the changes. Along the building edge, you see this blue line that's been added here. That is a new 24-inch wide stone aggregate maintenance strip. It was not originally called for, but we do have grass up against the building in this location, and by having that stone strip 24 inches off of the wall, it makes mowing easier, and it protects the brick on the building. So it's something that we recommend, and it accounts for $6,684 of the PCO. Jeff is going to kind of talk offline with George and has some review comments because he didn't agree with the material quantities. So that's an ongoing item, but that's how we can explain what the cost is related to. And then in green, there were plants that we've added in response to the neighbor's concern along the south property line. And that accounts for about $2,500 worth of the PCO. There were also plants that were eliminated, and we didn't see those credited in the proposal, and so Jeff commented on those back to the CM team as well.
So Amy, the cost so far without the credit is about what, $8,000 or $9,000?
That's correct. Let me go back to my notes here. George, do you happen to have that off the top of your head? That's to a different email.
Talking just for the plantings.
For all of that PCO.
Oh yeah, actually I just got the revised from TC Lawns. Because
Okay.
as you were saying, Amy, the the blue, the stone edging, originally TC estimated to be 700 linear feet, and Jeff said it was more like 500. But talking with Phil from TC Lawns, Jeff missed this little piece here. So if you add that little piece, and then when I did the takeoff, it's like 600. So it's kind of in between what Jeff and what TC Lawn said. So with that adjustment, making it 600 linear feet of that stone, plus he gave back the credits. Total, I think it was like 21,000.
21,000.
So
Yeah.
you're talking about that line item itself was only in the range of $6,000. So. I think it was 6,684.
Yeah, just for the stone.
Material costs and a portion of the equipment and labor costs.
Yeah, the edging was about 3,300, and the stone was like 17. Yeah, it was probably about probably materials like 6,000.
Okay.
Well, that was the original.
There...
Now it's about 5,000, like 5,500, I think now. Being 600.
There was $1,000 savings, and then in regards to the credit for the plantings.
Yeah, that was for the rhododendrons. I think there was 7 total, and that's like $500 credit. That's the material, and then he did credit some labor hours, but that was both for the stone and the labor hours went down as well. So I think the original was like 24 or something, and then now it's like 21 or 28. I think was the original. Now it's like 21.
Just to clarify, is the planting credit in the same area? So
Pardon me?
plants removed in this area?
There were rhododendrons removed and there were other plants added. Diane.
But again, we're all
Effort
looking at the same area. It's not a different part of the property. It's all in that neighborhood. Okay.
Yeah, it's all on the south property line.
Right.
Okay.
Amy, what were the plants that were added? Were they going to be larger non-deciduous trees for increased height of screening? Is that what the request was?
That's correct. The request is to have additional screening. I think the neighbor actually came out when our landscape architects were on site the other day and suggested that, because let me back up a minute. Our documents do require that an arborist check the status of the existing trees that we required to be sort of protected. And you'll see those on the screen here circled in white. And these are existing trees that we requested be checked for their health so that they can remain, because they're nice tall trees that in the spring, summer, and fall will really provide a lot of separation and coverage for the neighbor. And then what we're doing is trying to plant the understory of those trees. But as you know, trees grow up and down, and so where we're trying to plant these is right really in the root line of those existing trees. So we want to be careful not to damage them. We had originally called for rhododendrons in that area to just cover the low understory, but the neighbors would like more robust, taller deciduous trees. So we still require that the arborist check to make sure that where we're suggesting to plant these, it won't undermine the existing trees. Because the best coverage and the best separation for those neighbors is still the existing trees. These will grow in, but they're in shade. They're on a very, very steep hill, and it's a difficult place for us to plant in terms of having these new plants take root. So that being said, the neighbor did come while we were on site and suggested that they wouldn't mind if these trees were planted on their side of the property line. And that's something that we really can't recommend. And that's something that the committee can discuss and decide upon. If you'd like to sort of honor that as a nod to the neighbors, they certainly have flat land, not steep hill on their side of the property line, and they have a lot more space than we do. So if that's something that the committee wants to consider, that some of this work would be done on, not on the school property, but rather on the neighbor's property. That's something that we can discuss and we can certainly support, but I think as a concern, we don't want the school to have maintenance of any of those trees if they're not on the school property.
It's not just maintenance, it's a liability issue too.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, for those reasons, we have them shown on our side of the property line, but they do require an arborist to come out in order for them to be planted so that we don't undermine the health of the existing trees.
Okay, I think we should consider the fact of putting it on the Henderson property, but with all the caveats that are there, liability as well as maintenance, which we're not going to assume, or we should not assume. Okay.
Okay. So did I just understand you to say that you'd consider it?
We'll consider it, but we have to first of all understand what we obviously will not maintain them, and number two, we have to understand the liability, how we protect ourselves from that. But we could consider it if it's a more logical flat area to plant trees. That's obvious. I mean, it's not,
Yeah, yeah, that's not an if. I mean, it is a more logical flat
Yeah.
area to plant
No,
trees. And so then it's just a question of how to handle it. We're trying to do our best to provide them with the separation that they're looking for.
Yeah.
We just have very limited location.
We can certainly, I would think that we can, the logic of the planting place makes sense to consider it, and we'll do that quickly.
Okay.
Okay. Hurrying right along here, the next order is to talk about where we are with furniture orders and furniture deliveries and any contingency plans that you have in place in case we get delayed here.
Mm-hmm. So the furniture vendors all walked the building a couple of weeks ago. They are on track to provide all of their furniture at the beginning of June now. Original date was end of May. And they've received a week or two of relief on that delivery date just because of the TCO date change, but currently we're on track for those deliveries. There was a bit of a concern about where they could deliver and set up their materials. You know, in a typical school, there's a large gymnasium for them. They have all of their furniture delivered in boxes. They put it together and then they move it to the room where it belongs. In this case, there's not any of the large assembly spaces built yet. And so there was a bit of a concern about how the delivery process and the building of the furniture would take place. But that was all worked out during the site visit.
Okay, so that they're thinking of a delivery date beginning with June 1st, which is the TCO date.
That's correct. I think that the date that we currently have
Okay. And
I did a screen clip is June 9th.
I'm sorry?
Correct me if I'm wrong, George, June 9th?
Yeah, the June 9th is substantial completion, but the TCO is June 1st.
Okay.
And Amy, I believe, not to give too much into the details, but I believe in some of the discussions that Scott and George had with the building department, that they're okay with furniture going in before the TCO so that they can see it in place. So they don't.
Right. That's more on our end. We want to make sure that the punch list is complete, Dave, before we have the furniture vendors start moving furniture in there. In my experience, it tends to become a lot of finger pointing if there's scuffs on the floor or scuffs in the paint. If the punch list hasn't been completed and the furniture vendors come in there, it gives people another finger to point at. Well, that's not my responsibility. I don't have to touch up that paint. Someone else was in here. That's our
I think we could connect to on those actual dates that we're showing that we're projecting for the punch list compilation too. I guess my point is, if there's a date one way or another, and we need to, accommodate that. I don't want furniture deliveries waiting on us. I mean, if the furniture is there, we want to be able to accept it. So I want to make sure that we're giving you what you need so that we can get the furniture in when the earliest time that they can provide it.
Okay, absolutely. We're on board with that. And right now our furniture vendors are not expressing concern about the delivery dates that we gave them.
They're not concerned.
I mean, I don't know if they're concerned, behind the scenes, Skip, but they're still maintaining those dates for us.
I got it. We're keeping a good face no matter what. Okay.
That's the noise I keep hearing. So we're on track.
Okay. Any more questions on that from the committee?
Mike Lynch. When I was at that meeting, we asked the vendors to give us a delivery date, and except for the Verco, which I believe is the student classroom chairs, the other vendors said it's 8 weeks after acknowledgement of their order by the factory, and no vendor could tell me if their company had received that acknowledgement. Not one.
So
And yeah, I
can
guess you
double
have.
check on that. It certainly was longer than 8 weeks that we gave them.
Yeah, but we asked them, I said, okay, so who's gotten an, because that was the answer they gave. Well, it was 8 weeks. I said, okay, so who's gotten an acknowledgement from the factory that the furniture order has been received and it's in line to get made? And only the Verco person could say they had that. So we have some contingency plans with, we're going to rent pods, and when we empty the building out, we're going to put the furniture in the pods. The contract cleaner that we have, he has labor rate with us. He's going to supply 10 people to move the existing furniture out into pods and take them off site for a month. Obviously, if the furniture does arrive on the 9th and the 10th and everything else, it's a moot point. We won't do that. But we have to be able to open the school with furniture in it, whether it's the old or the new.
Understood. And you do have some furniture that's going to be reused on a temporary basis for the year.
Right, the cafeteria, the library furniture, which is a lot of furniture.
It is.
And the gym equipment. And the music. I'm assuming the music equipment also. That's what we've been telling the moving company, that they have to take the old music equipment, cafeteria, the gym, and the library. And the library's lock, stock, and barrel. So that's already in our moving bid. It's also going to be the boxes that the teachers are currently packing. So,
well, Mike, who can verify whether the comment that was made to you about it was 8 weeks once the factory acknowledged the order? Can we find out if that's if that's really a true statement? And if it is true, let's find out if the factories have acknowledged.
All the vendors were there. Every vendor except Verco said the exact same thing, because one guy I said, look, none of you are giving me an exact date. Somebody has to say something. And that's when one of the gentlemen said, it's 8 to 12 weeks after factory acknowledgement. And so I asked every vendor, who has a factory acknowledgement? Nobody did, except Verco.
Okay, so during this discussion, I did
telling you something different, Amy.
Well, Christine was confident to me after that meeting, and I just sent her another message asking for confirmation.
Because they said it in front of her, and I was there with my assistant Kevin. We heard it. So
she's been bird dogging them for
vendors. She would have more contact with the vendors than me, and it was 2 weeks ago. So maybe she has some better information.
That's correct. That's what. So I just reached out again, and I'll get confirmation again.
I'm planning for the worst, hoping for the best.
Amy, can you let us all know?
Absolutely. I'll forward the response, Rusty.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else that should be brought up at this meeting?
I have just one thing. I talked to Greenpoint Energy. They are the people that installed the existing PV system on the roof, and we talked about the date and the demolition. Mike, there's a special way that has to be taken offline, and he's going to be getting me an outline of it for the demolition, because we're going to do the demolition ourselves. And we're now scheduling it, I think it's starting the last Monday of June, which is after you've had a week to clear everything else out.
Yeah, last Monday of June is like the 26th or something, 27th.
Yeah.
So Rusty, what exactly do you mean when you say we're demoing ourselves? What does that mean? I mean, the committee's not going to be doing it.
Well, there's two ways to do it. Greenpoint we can pay Greenpoint to take the panels away and and the inverter and all that stuff, or we can have our demolition company who's going to be demolishing the building do it. And I believe this is included in their work. It matters not because it's not reusable equipment. So we're just going to have our guys do it, and it will be the first part of the building to come down. So it'll be tight.
Got it.
Okay. Anything else? There is no public comment, so I'll take a motion to adjourn. That's Katie. Do I have a second? And that's Dan. All in favor indicate, this one will be positive. Raise your hand, say aye. And thank you all for staying through the second portion of our meeting today.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
We get overtime for this?
Absolutely.
Double your committee salary, Rusty, I think.
Oh,
as a result
God, I was
of today.
looking for a little more than that with inflation, but that's okay.
Well, you can go double with 10% added.
There
All
we
right.
go.
Thank you all.
Quintuple it.
Thank you.